Welcome to Kaizen Time, part of the Blood, Sweat, and Business podcast, where we provide constant improvement to businesses through timely, actionable financial solutions. Do you want answers to your financial questions? Email us at bsp@kaizencpas.com. I'm your host, Mark Valesky. Now let's get started. Welcome to another episode of Kaizen Time. I'm joined by Brian Bride, our Director of Payroll Operations. What's going on, Brian?
Not much, just living the dream.
Living the dream, the payroll dream.
I love payroll.
And actually, before we even get into it, Brian, why do you love payroll?
I found it 10 years ago, and I was in implementation for a long time. And this is the puzzle solving and the solving the issues of clients is like what I'm excited about. Making it easier for us to execute our jobs, like making taxes easier, to submit and make payments. I just love it.
So I guess it makes me want to ask when tax season comes and everyone's like, that was easy. All of a sudden you're just like, that's so satisfying to hear.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah, we worked really hard for this last quarter to get kind of the base to be like, okay, here's what we can make better to make it faster and more efficient in order to file.
Well, because I do remember, like, again, back in the pen and paper days, I feel like I've brought this up a lot with you, is it used to be a lot of really tedious work, and now it's a lot of just, information's flowing to where it needs to be.
Yeah, we would always kind of go up to the deadline of submitting before we got everything done. But now, like, we were done a week early this time, and just some of the stragglers and stuff. And we're really working on shifting a lot of that work to like the front end where we're checking it earlier and that we can automate a lot of these processes. Like, we don't need to log into each individual website anymore. We can send a lot of the stuff through the platforms. So it's great.
Well, and the nice thing about that is it takes a lot of stress off so that you can, take some time off and just chill.
Right. That and, provide value to the clients too.
Yeah. So let's get into what we're talking about today, which is paid leave loss. So I understand that really there's a big kind of difference between the one that you would earn and the one that is paid. What actually explain that to me?
Sure. So many states have mandated paid leave laws, and they come in two types. Sometimes states have both types, but they come in two types. One's more of an insurance, and it looks like a tax on their paycheck.
And that one's the one that's earned, right?
That's the one they pay for.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
And so you pay a premium, and then when you need to access the system, you go through the state website and you enter the information in. They make a decision and send you money, or send money to your employer to send you money. The other one is earned, like as per hours worked. So a pretty examples, most states are like after you work 40 hours, you get 1 hour sick leave. Those can vary between states, but that's the kind of the idea. So even if you're a part-time employee, a lot of times part-time employees didn't get any paid off. So now if they work 20 hours a week, after 2 weeks, they have 1 hour of sick leave they can use for going to the doctor or calling in or whatever.
So over the course of time, this has all been moved over to these cloud browser-based, payroll engines, right?
Right.
So I actually want you to get really into that. So we're using iSolve. That's been our big push, and that keeps track of all this information for you, right?
Yeah, it does. Compliance is a huge issue. You can get fined a lot of money, $500 and $1,000 a day per violation.
Per day?
Yeah. Chicago sick pay is like $500 per violation per day if you don't give it properly. So we take care of that kind of compliance. So depending on what state you're in, iSolve will take care of the insurance piece. If you're in California, for example, when you sign up for iSolved and you add the California workplace, it automatically brings in all the taxes that we need. So it'll bring in the disability policy. Another one that's kind of complicated is Oregon. Oregon, we can handle all of that. They have a paid leave. They have a workers' benefit fund. They have unemployment, and they have a kicker on that. They have other taxes that are employer taxes that are like transit based. So if you have a really complicated state, we can really handle that inside of iSolved.
I mean, even if it wasn't complicated, it still seems like it's a really big risk that you're taking when you do this wrong.
Yeah, it sure is. They're becoming more ubiquitous, these paid leave laws. Illinois just passed theirs for this year. So that was a paid leave law where one for every 40 hours you work, you get an hour of paid leave. Chicago also passed ones that are more generous to the employee. So if you're in the city of Chicago, you have to follow those rules. And, even though those are fairly simple to set up, they are very important to track.
Okay, so let's really get into these payroll systems. So
Sure.
they are automatically tracking, they're automatically up to date, or at least the good ones, right?
Right.
And they are essentially keeping track of this information and making sure you stay within compliance.
Correct.
So let's do a little bit of cost analysis here, because as you mentioned before, we're talking $500 to $1,000 a day that you're charging. And then in reality, what are you paying for something like an iSolved?
Our paid leave and our tax is included in our base package.
Which is around
About $8 an employee per payroll.
$8 compared to accidentally having to pay $500 to $1,000 per day. It seems like a steal.
Yeah, we have model policies, so you're allowed to give a little bit more if you wanted, or if your policy is already compliant. So maybe you already give people 80 hours of PTO, then you might be compliant. We handle all that and help you out. So if you ever have a question, you just give us a call and we'll go through it with you.
On previous podcasts, we talked about the whole self-serve component. Mm-hmm. So this kind of falls into that too, right? With paid leave.
Yeah. So paid leave, if you need it, you can request it. Like in the city of Chicago, you can request 2-hour increments. So if you have an app and you want to request 2 hours off in 2 days, you can request it and it goes through. Your manager sees it, approves it, and you're done.
Let me ask you something, Brian. What's something people don't really know about these paid leave laws? Like just something that is to you, obviously someone who works in this so much, something that you would know very clearly, but most people are just like, oh, I didn't even knew this existed. Yeah.
So a lot of the states that have the paid family leave, those are really good deals for the employees. So maybe you are in Colorado. They have a pretty robust paid family leave and you need to take 12 weeks off to care for a sick relative. You apply to that through Colorado. They handle that kind of stuff. Like they handle the compliance. Colorado handles the payments to you. And then they tell your employer, okay, you need to hold the job for this long. And then you come back when they say it's okay for you to come back.
So what are some examples of that?
Caring for a sick relative. Maybe your company is in California and doesn't have pregnancy leave, you have that. Oregon has kind of the same thing. They have a paid family leave. So if you're in Oregon or even Washington has one, you apply through the state if you're going to have a baby, and then they keep the job open for you, and then the state pays your money.
Oh, that's great to hear. Anything else that you want me to know about our paid leave laws?
Yeah, so, the kind of differences kind of talked earlier was like one's an insurance, like the PATE, the California Disability, Oregon paid family is like an insurance that you pay into.
And that's part of your taxes, right?
Right, it's part of your taxes. So you see it on your check stub. The other one's kind of earned that you can also see on your check stub when you work the hours. So Illinois, once you work 40 hours, even if you're part-time, as long as you work at least so many weeks a year, you get access to this. And let's say maybe you work 10 hours a week. Then, after 2 months, you got about 2 or 3 hours and you can't make your shift. You can call in sick, you get paid, you don't lose anything, and you're good to go.
If people wanted to know more about these paid leave laws, where's the best place to look? Because they're mandated by a state. So state websites?
Yeah. So state websites, if you go on there, if you just type in what state and type in paid family leave, you see it, or paid leave law. You can also reach out to us. You can call YPD and we'd be happy to walk you through any questions that you have.
All right. Perfect. Thanks so much, Brian.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Kaizen Time, part of the Blood, Sweat, and Business podcast. If you like what you heard, subscribe and leave a 5-star review. This podcast has been brought to you by Kaizen CPAs Plus Advisors, providing advisory and accounting services to help you grow your business. Learn more at kaizencpas.com or email us at bsb@kaizencpas.com.